All right, another tight topic here. We're going to talk about luminosity masks. Now, luminosity masks are probably a step above what I should be talking about in introductory Photoshop, but it's a pretty interesting way of using masks and the idea of masking. So we'll get into that. Let's see what we can do here. Let me get rid of that little mugging on mine again and talk about luminosity masks. What are luminosity masks anyways? Well, you take this picture here. You've got lights and darks and different colors and everything else. I bet you guys never thought you'd get into channels. Well, that's what we're going to get into now, channels. So let's look at that. If we look at the channels, you'll find out that all pictures, if the picture mode, image mode, is set to RGB. If it's CMYK, you'd see CMYK channels here, but we're set at RGB, which is red, green, and blue. So the red, green, and blue channels indicate the brightness of the red in each one of the in all the areas of the picture, the brightness of the green, and the brightness of the blue. Okay, so I can go through here. That's the red channel, blue channel, and green channel and blue channel. Okay, what I'm looking for when I do this luminosity is I'm looking for the channel that gives me the best contrast, and these all give me pretty good contrast here. Let me just take a look at green. Not as much. Blue seems to be more. I want more blacks and more whites, and then red. I'm going to go with blue. Okay, so I look at the one that has the most contrast. I'll take the blue, drag it into this little plus icon here. What I'm going to try to do with this is create a mask. Black conceals, white reveals, right? So I'm going to create a mask. So let's just go back to layers before I do anything else and show you what I'm going to do, okay? First I'll hit click RGB, go back to layers. I'm going to go back to a picture of a sky that I'm going to put in behind the ships, okay? Now there's a lot of lines and there's a lot of stuff all over the place, so how do we lay a sky into this picture behind all that stuff? I'm going to use a luminosity. There's other ways to do it using blend modes, but I'll use luminosity mask for this one here. So I'm going to take the sky, select using the move tool, get in the middle of the sky picture, and drag it up to my ship picture and drop it into the middle. I'm moving to the middle of the picture and letting go. All right. Okay, the sky is now there. I can place the sky roughly where I want it. Okay, so that sky now is going to be blended in behind the ship using a luminosity mask. First of all, let me just turn off the sky layer here, go back to the ship layer, and do what I started to do before. I copied that blue layer, right? So let me go down to the blue layer, and I'm going to create a mask out of this picture here. So what I'll do is I'll go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. Using the levels adjustment, I'm going to try to make the sky as white as possible because that's why I want to reveal the sky, and the rest of the picture as dark as possible. So I'll move this around until I get something that I'm happy with that looks to me like a mask. And you can see as I do this, I'm getting very mask-looking white sky, black foreground. I don't care about the river down here. I'm not overlaying the sky here. I'm really overlaying the sky, everything above this roof line here, okay? And it looks pretty decent right now. I don't have to do anything else to it. What I could do if I had to, for example, let's just say I'm not going to lay the sky in along this railing here, but I can actually go to this layer here, the blue copy layer here, and I could take a brush using black, opacity 100%, and I could make sure that this really did look like a mask all the way. And you know, I'll leave that. Although, yeah, I could mask it all out. So what I could do is, if I wanted to, is create a nice mask. I don't have to use the sky. The sky layer's not coming down this low. What I'm really worried about is these areas up here. So I can just go in and mask these out. Now we got something that looks pretty mask-like. I'll leave it there. Now, using this as my mask, okay, this is my mask. I'm going to go to this little icon down below, this little circular icon, and click on that, which will make a selection out of that mask. Okay, you see the marching ants now. I'll click back on RGB before. It's important to click on RGB before going back. I clicked on RGB. Now remember what happens when you make a mask and you've got a selection in place. You see the marching ants here? I'll click on this top layer and create a mask. And voila! The sky is now behind the image, and you can see the mask here that it created. Because I had the selection made, the mask got created with that selection. And Now I've got a nice sky behind everything. You can see part of the picture down in this area here. It's not too well done. I should have done a better mask down there. But that, in this sense, that's one way to use a luminosity mask to lay in the sky. Okay, I can, if I want to, I can change the opacity of the sky just down a little bit to blend it in. There's other things I can do. For example, right along the border of the buildings here, if I wanted to, I could obviously do some other things like painting a brush, painting with black, and using very low opacity, very low flow, making sure the thing, and using a very large brush, so I could take the brush size here and make it large, and then brushing with the edge of the brush along the horizon just to soften. And the sky is generally hazy along the horizon anyway, so if I do this, it'll make it lighter along the horizon and blend it in. So that's one way to do it. So that's luminosity mask to lay in something behind it. Okay, you can use a luminosity mask in another way also. Let's look at this particular picture. This was taken at sunset near Taos, New Mexico. I went out there, drove out from the town at sunset to catch a sunset picture. It was a beautiful evening, except the sun was not giving me enough color in the sky. So the sky is pretty. There's a lot of detail in the sky, a lot going on, but I wasn't quite getting the color. So let's see what we could do to change that. Let's go back to channels. We'll look at these pictures. Now I'm looking mostly at the sky as I do this because I'm trying to get some contrast in the sky, not too crazy though. Yeah, let's use the red this time. Okay, I'll take the red, drag it down here. Now using the red and using the again the image adjustment here, I'm not going to create a mask out of it. I'm going to create a mask, but I do want some differences in colors. The grays are not too bad right now. Let's fool around. What I'm going to do is I want the where it's white. I want the color to appear that I'm going to be painting in into certain areas and not appear where it's black. Okay, so I'm just looking at the sky. Okay, I've got it sort of contrasty. Let's give that a shot. I can always come back and do this, do things differently later on. Okay, I need to click on RGB to get back, so I make sure I click on RGB. Now I can start painting. If I click create an empty layer, right? On this empty layer, going back to the mask here. Okay, I can click on the make a selection out of that mask. Okay, now go back, click RGB, go back to layers, and create a mask with that selection. Okay, now what I can do on this layer here, I can start painting different colors to the sky. So what I'll do now is I'll take the brush, B for brush, take a nice color. I'm clicking on the foreground color here and say I want to put some orange colors, yellow orange colors in the sky. A little bit more yellow. And I'm going to take a saturated yellow up here. Okay. Now I'm going to take the saturated yellow and start painting on this layer here across this part of the sky. Okay. Now you can see that it's laying in a color, right? I can remember I got blend modes, and I might do the color. Let's do the color across the whole sky to start with, because I'm going to do other layers and other colors here. So that starts to give me some color to the sky. Okay. Now I can make this slightly more subtle by using one of these different modes down here. Okay, I'll use say a soft light mode. That's too much. Hard light, vivid light's too much. Soft light. Let's see what soft light does if I click that on and off. See, it's added some color into that sky. Now what I can do is doing the same idea, taking another blank layer here, going back and creating making a selection out of that same mask. Okay, I forget to hit the RGB again. Using that, click on there, create a mask. So it's created the same mask. Now I can paint with a different color. Let's go with let's say an oranger redder color. Nice saturated orange red color. And let's just say I want to put that orange red color. Oh, it gave me gray. I don't want a gray. I want a red color. Let's go with the red. That's what I was on the wrong thing. I have to paint on the layer, not on the mask itself. Let's go with an orangey red like that. I like that. Okay, that should work. Okay, now I can start painting in these colors here in certain areas where I want them to show up. Essentially, creating myself a sunset picture, and it's to taste. Granted, it's to taste. I can take this back down to overlay mode maybe, and hard light. Playing around with this thing until we get it right. Say I'll take it to soft light here. You'll see what that color did. It brought in some reds. Now I'm starting to get a little bit more color into the picture. If I wanted to get even more yellows into the thing, I can take this layer here and duplicate it. Hit Command J. That brings a little bit more yellow. If I want to bring a little bit more reds in the picture, I can duplicate that picture. And essentially start building up colors. I can color more red in, more yellow, oranges, and things like that, creating myself more of a sunset picture. So hopefully that shows you what you can do with these channels and luminosity masks. Okay, it's a little different, but it's a fun thing to do, and you can bring some different colors into your picture.